Hello humans, my name is Aurora Murdoch and today I'm going to be talking about being an amputee because apparently that's what people want to hear from me. If you are another amputee or the loved one of somebody who is, this video could be a helpful resource for you, but keep in mind that I am only talking about my experiences and other people's experiences and perspectives will be different. So in case you're new here, this is what happened to me. Last October, my friend was driving recklessly and lost control of the car. I flew out the window head first because there were no seatbelts in the car, which everybody thinks I'm lying about that, but I'm honestly not. I hit a guardrail, degloved my leg, which basically means it ripped all the skin off, and I bled out once there, twice more in the hospital before having to have it amputated, so I didn't die. Well, actually, I did die. Well, my heart stopped. Does that count as dying or not? I spent 2 months in the hospital there before coming home, and now it's been, what, 8 months, and I'm still not fully recovered. Might never be, honestly. I mean, you can't really grow back a leg. So, today I'm going to answer some of your questions that you have asked me in previous videos. A lot of people who are in wheelchairs have trouble transferring from the wheelchair to another place, but luckily I do not have that problem because I still have one working leg. This means I don't need railings to do things. I don't need people to lift me up out of my wheelchair and put me in another spot. It's made life a lot easier for me to be able to do this by myself. Unfortunately, many people do not have the luxury of one working leg, so just keep that in mind. A lot of people asked if I use crutches. I can, I don't. Well, not much, because you can't really carry things with crutches because you need your hands to move. With a wheelchair, yeah, you need your hands to push, but I can also use my leg to propel myself forward and carry something with my hands. I mean, it's slow, but it's possible. However, one of the perks of crutches is I can go upstairs very, very slowly and not carrying anything. So it's kind of too much of a hassle. Someone asked how I go and get groceries and stuff and do errands, and actually I mostly order my groceries online, which is a thing you can do. However, I am capable of grocery shopping. I just kind of pile all my stuff in the cart behind me. It's awkward and some people probably think I'm trying to shoplift, but again, it works. Leaving my apartment to go grocery shopping or to do errands or to go to the doctor though, that's a bit more of a hassle. I can ride in a normal car. I just transfer from my wheelchair into the car and then whoever I'm riding with can put the wheelchair in the back. But that's kind of expensive, like if you're calling an Uber or something. So I use a special bus, and I'm lucky to have that because it's cheap, but it's very inconvenient because usually tasks that should take an hour will take all day. So other people who are in wheelchairs, who probably have jobs and stuff, I don't know how they use that because they would have to take off work anytime they wanted to go somewhere, like the entire day, because it takes forever. Another person asks if I can drive. I can. I do have one working leg. Again, I just really prefer not to because first of all, scary as shit being through what I've been through. Second of all, do you think I can honestly afford a car? Me? Do you live with anyone else to help you or do you do it all on your own? I mean, I have roommates, but they're not like my caretakers. I can take care of myself. Again, I can go get groceries, I can go to the doctor by myself, I can cook, clean, all that stuff. Is it draining? Yes. Is it harder for me than most people? Yes. But it is doable. When I first got out of the hospital though, I could not do that. I wasn't capable of sitting up by myself. And had I not had somebody who was willing to take me in and take care of me, I would have gotten into a nursing home and there I would probably just rot away. I would probably still be rotting there. 2 months after that, I still couldn't really take care of myself. I was a little bit better, but not much. But my friend decided that we were going to split ways, and so I didn't really have another choice. The meds made me sleep all the time. I could barely eat, I could barely move, and when I called the government assistance program asking how the fuck I'm going to pay my rent, you know what they said to me? Get a job. Get a job? Excuse me? I can barely move. What makes you think that first of all I'm gonna have the energy to go to a job? Second of all, who's gonna hire me while I'm in a wheelchair and like drugged up? But I was lucky. I have a YouTube channel and I used it to do a GoFundMe. I got some money for my rent so I could just focus on recovering and not about finances, and that worked out great. But so many people don't have that option, and it's something that's really fucked up because there's people out there with no money nobody to take care of them, and they actually cannot take care of themselves. It is fucked up. Just get on disability, you say. Disability. You don't get disability if you haven't worked. That's what they told me. Like, I was 18 at the time of the crash. Yeah, I've had a job before, but apparently it wasn't enough. I wasn't old enough to have a job for as long as they needed me to. So yeah, fuck disability. There's some other rules in there too. Anyway, on with the Q&A. The most common question by far is, do you have a prosthetic? No. Every 2 months they say, in 2 months, you'll have a prosthetic. It's been 8 months. They've recently told me 2 more months. The optimistic prediction is that I will be walking by spring, which is a 1.5 years from the accident. But if you're an amputee, please don't let that discourage you, because my situation is complicated. There's been issues with my body that have really slowed the process down. I think for most people it's a lot quicker. Another person asks what my options are. See, that's a good question. You know, all those fancy stories and TED Talks you see about these awesome prosthetics, and you're like, hell yeah, cyborgs, part robot. Yeah, those aren't available yet. Most of them are in labs, they're for the military, they're not on the market. If they were on the market, my insurance obviously would not pay for them, and they're like, what, $100,000 for one fucking prosthetic? So yes, prosthetics are getting good, but I do not have access to them. Somebody asked about training with a prosthetic. Yes, I will have to train. I go to physical therapy now, even while I'm in a wheelchair. We mostly do strengthening exercises, flexibility exercises. Once I get the prosthetic, it's gonna go something like this. You wear it for like an hour a day, and then you gradually increase it. If you wear it too much, you can really fuck up your leg. Again, by spring, hopefully I'll be walking. It's July. Hopefully I'll get it by September. So that's quite a while they're thinking that it's gonna take me to learn to walk. In the future, would you ever want a robot leg? If so, what would you do with it? I don't really know what this question means. Like, what constitutes as a robot leg? Like just a regular prosthetic, or like a prosthetic that's actually as good as my leg? Well, I would ice skate, because that was something I really, really loved before the accident. And every time I go to my prosthetics doctor, I'm like, so, what's the deal with me ice skating? Can I ice skate? And always they're like, no, the technology doesn't exist. It's not possible for an above-the-knee amputee to ice skate, because you don't have the proper control of your knee. And I've been bugging them about this for months and months and months, and their answer has not yet changed. Like, obviously I'm gonna try anyway, but the amount of effort it's going to take me to even get as good as I used to be, much less better, it's not probable. Now we're gonna talk about pain, yay. If you're an amputee or you're getting your leg amputated or something, my situation is probably different from yours, because my leg was degloved, which means it had all the skin just ripped off of it. Isn't that lovely? That also means I'm in a lot more pain than most people. Are you gonna be in pain for the rest of your life? I don't know. I asked my doctors that, and they're like, we also don't know. Right now I'm on a lot of drugs to try and control it a bit. It's still pretty difficult to live with it and actually get up and do things, which is partially the medication and partially the pain. And a lot of people asked if I experience phantom limb pain. Yes, that's where it feels like your leg is still there, and I do definitely feel that. Mostly it's just like a kind of stabby feeling in my toes, and it's unpleasant. It's very unpleasant. Have you become dependent on your pain meds? Well, I've been on narcotics for 8 months, so yeah, I think I'm pretty well addicted to it. And a few videos ago, I mentioned that I was addicted to narcotics, and there was an absolute shitstorm in the comments. Like, what do you think they put people on for pain? This extreme, extreme pain, or fucking Tylenol doesn't do anything. What do you think? Like, honestly, if they could just prescribe weed before they prescribe opioids, like, that would be so much better, but of course, weed isn't legal in my state. Thus, this disaster. How did you deal with the initial pain, mentally and physically? Physically, I didn't deal with it at all. Like, what can you do? Just like drug somebody up until they can't think anymore. Like in the hospital, right after they cut my leg off, I was on so many drugs, but it was still the most ridiculous amount of pain I have ever and probably will ever experience. I remember sometimes I would just scream for hours on end, and I could hardly breathe. I couldn't hold a conversation because I was in so much pain. It was truly awful, and I am so glad that the pain has gotten a lot better. Like, I can actually function now. I'm in a huge amount of pain, but I can take care of myself. How did I deal with it mentally? Mentally, I guess it was like, it wasn't even significant. Like the idea, oh, I might never walk again, and oh, I'm never gonna do the things I love again. Like, it hardly mattered because the physical pain was so intense. Plus, I was like really drugged up. Like that first video, the one that went viral of me in the hospital, people were like, oh, they're so calm. More people should be like them. It's like, no dude, I was on drugs. Let's talk about feelings. God, I hate talking about my feelings. How are you able to be so positive when you lost your leg? Again, drugs. Do you feel like people see or treat you differently, and how do you wish they would treat you? This is a good question. People are definitely much more sympathetic towards me. I feel like they pity me. I know that I look like a fucking charity case, and my friend mentioned, it's like, oh, people look at me differently when I'm with you. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm a fucking charity case. That's what they think. So I just wish they would treat me like a normal human. Like, I promise you that I am much more capable than many abled people at fucking dealing with my life. I promise you I'm a lot mentally stronger than a lot of able people. And yet, everybody treats me like I'm weak. And that's like always been a thing, because like I'm 5'1". Right now I probably weigh like 80 pounds. I'm tiny. So that makes people assume, oh, this person's physically weak. They must also be mentally weak, which isn't the case at all. Do you ever wake up and forget it's gone? And what do you do once you realize such? Do you have both legs in your dreams? Yes, I do sometimes. Less now. It was very common at the beginning, and now I think I'm probably getting used to it. A lot of times in my dreams, I know I have one leg, but I can still walk. There was this one dream I had. It was like probably the best dream I've ever had in my life, and one of the only good dreams that I've had since this has happened because of all the drugs. It was like a semi-lucid dream where I could kind of control what I was doing. And so I did the thing that I really, really, really wanted to do. I went ice skating. And that was like a pretty amazing experience. And then I woke up and I realized, oh, I'm never gonna ice skate again. What are the main ways you're coping with such a drastic change? Let's see. Repression and alcohol. See, a lot of people think that I'm a very positive person, which used to be true. I was such an optimist. But now I'm just like, I just gotta fucking get through this. I gotta get off these drugs so I can fucking think. But until then, I am going to numb the pain with as much stuff as I can. So that's basically what I've been doing. Not a great choice. Please don't use me as an example. Do you take antidepressants or other mood stabilizers? You've lost a leg and you behave as nothing special has happened. Oh, thank you. I guess that's a compliment. No, I don't. I used to take like Zoloft, I think. Actually, I used to take a lot of stuff. I still have some fucking Xanax. But eventually I was like, I'm on too many drugs. I can't eat, which is like a huge problem. Like in the hospital, I almost starved to death because of the fucking drugs. Like I actually almost starved to death. The nutritionist came in and was like, you're starving to death. You're probably going to die. Like, thank you. After I got out of the hospital, I just cut myself off of a ton of drugs. And it really helped my appetite. I mean, I'm still super depressed, but like antidepressants don't really make you not depressed, or at least for me. For some people, they probably work. And yeah, therapy doesn't work for me either. Therapist is just like, so how are you? I'm like, I'm good, how are you? I'm awful at talking about my feelings. Even when I'm drunk around people I trust, it's very difficult for me to do. And I feel like that's a definite change from like before the accident. I would just fucking tell a stranger my entire life story. And now I've got a much more militant mindset, I guess. I am very sealed off from the world. I'm very sealed off from myself. I'm just like, just keep a straight face, don't feel anything. That's an awful way to deal with it, but that's what I'm doing. Talk more about depression. What do you want me to say? I mean, I want to die like all the time, but whatever, so does everybody else. Now we're gonna get into the weird questions now that we're finally done talking about feelings. Did you keep your leg, Ash? No, they wouldn't let me. Like, this is such a fucking creepy thing, but it's on my bucket list to try human flesh, like to eat it. So I was like, I could just eat my own leg. That would be so cool, like in fucking Hannibal. But of course they didn't let me do that. They didn't let me keep the bones either. I really wanted the bones to like make a cute little necklace out of my own bones. How fucking badass is that? But they were like, no. How has your amputation affected you financially? Are you on disability? If so, is it relatively easy to get into disability? It is awful trying to get into disability. There's so many fucking rules, so no, I'm not on disability because there's a bunch of reasons why I don't qualify. So yeah, I'm kind of going broke, but not really. The GoFundMe really did help me out, and I've got a friend who's hopefully going to pay for the medical bills, but I'm not holding my breath. Do you remember what happened right before the accident, or was it a blur? I remember waking up to the car spinning. I sat up, which was probably a bad idea. I should have rolled onto the floor, I guess. I mean, maybe I would have gotten permanent brain damage from that or something, but I don't fucking know. I remember screaming my friend's name, and then the next thing I know, I'm on the ground outside. I'm looking at the stars, and I'm like, oh, I can't move my leg. And I look down, and there's like all this blood, and then I start screaming again. So my friend comes over, he calls 911, stops the bleeding. I'm screaming, there's a police officer there, I'm screaming, I cannot stop screaming. And then I was airlifted to the nearest hospital, which was like fucking 50 miles away. Like, we were 50 miles from Salt Lake City, and I think that's where the fucking hospital was. So that's what happened. I'm actually gonna talk more about this. Like, I'm gonna give you the whole story of what happened at the accident, what happened in the hospital, what happened after, and I'm gonna have like pictures and stuff from the hospital, but I'm not including it in this video because I do not want this video getting flagged for gore like the other one was. Thanks, guys. Did the accident help or stunt your personal growth? I think it stunted it, honestly. I was pretty mentally stable before the accident. Like, I'd seen some shit, but I was dealing with it in a healthy way. I was being really optimistic. I had like a good spiritual belief system. And now I'm just like, everything sucks. There's no meaning to life. We should all just die now. So that's been pretty fun. And the reason for that is when my heart stopped, I've talked about this before, I saw the void and it stared into my soul, and now I'm scared of everything. How did your parents and siblings react? I don't know how my brother reacted, or my father. My mother actually dropped everything, flew out to Salt Lake City, and stayed with me in the hospital for the entire 2 months. God bless my mother. How do you see yourself incorporating your residual limb into your cosplay? Do you see yourself going back to the cosplay world, for that matter, publicly? Yes, definitely. I'm going back to cosplay as soon as I can. I would like to do Hiccup, because I fucking love dragons. I think that would be a really cool thing. What other amputee characters are there, though? Because, like, I've made a list of them, and Hiccup is pretty much the only decent one. What ideas do you have for yourself? Do you plan on getting a job? Well, right now, of course, I can't leave my apartment to go get a job. Hopefully, in the future, I will be able to move back to a commune, and that will be my job, and I'll be able to work there. But for now, I actually have a good writing job, and I run a social media account for a restaurant, which it doesn't pay like super well, but I am quite happy with it. Do you plan on ever going back to college? If not, what are your career plans for the future? Actually, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I would not go back to college in America because it's freakishly expensive. However, I might go to Germany because college there is free, which is amazing. I would probably do something regarding music or theater, and if I could turn that into a job, that would be great. It's kind of unlikely, so I would most likely just do it as a hobby, put it on YouTube, maybe start up a, what are they doing now, Patreon? I don't know. So that would be cool, but mostly I'm just gonna move back to a commune as soon as possible, because living in mainstream society when you know there's something better is just awful. Like, communes are the shit. You got everything you need, and you got like all these friends. You've got people. Communes are amazing, but most of them are not wheelchair accessible. Most of them you need to like be able to do physical labor, like gardening or whatever. So it's not even guaranteed that I'm gonna be able to go do that. Where did they take your skin graft for your stump? They took it from my other leg, which is why it's all scarred and gross looking. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Oh god, dead. No, not dead. Commune, hopefully with a wife and a dog. I love dogs. How do you feel riding in any car again after your accident? Terrified? Like, any little mistake makes me totally fucking lose it when I'm in a car. Has being an amputee changed your outlook on life? I mean, yeah, to a degree. I don't think as drastically as having my heart stop and seeing the fucking void. That part's what's really fucked me up. How's my relationship with my parents after the accident? Still don't talk to my father because he's a dick, but my mother and I have gotten much closer, which is pretty much the only good thing to come out of this. Do you ever draw a face on your stump and pretend it is some living creature? What the fuck is wrong with you? What is one thing you took for granted before the accident? Again, fucking ice skating and like walking and hiking and just being able to like do physical things, like even work. Like, I miss gardening. I miss living on a commune and being able to do stuff like that. Have you ever received an apology from the driver? This is a complicated question. I don't want to talk about the driver for his privacy. I actually haven't told you which of my friends did it, and I'm not going to. He said he's sorry. I'm not sure if he actually is, based on his actions afterwards. Have your friends distanced themselves from you or stepped up and became better friends since the accident? Pretty much all of my friends have distanced themselves from me. I'm not sure if it was actually because I'm in a wheelchair or anything like that. There was just a lot of drifting apart, and there were a few fights, and I'm not really going to talk about that for their privacy. Is it hard to fit a socket with skin grafts? Yes. I haven't actually been fitted yet, but my doctor has told me that there's going to be a lot of complications because of the skin grafts and because of just the shape and size of my leg. Like, it's too short to actually have what a vacuum socket, is that what it's called? So I'm going to have to basically have a belt for the rest of my life, which I'm not looking forward to because I really hate tight things around my stomach. It's so uncomfortable. But I mean, that's the only thing I have, unless I want to like drill a hole in my leg, which might not even be possible because my leg is so small. When I was in the hospital, they were actually planning on amputating at the hip, and somebody luckily convinced them not to do that, so I have like 5 inches maybe of a leg, but that's not enough for a lot of things. And here's a question that I am asked a lot, not for Q&As, just in general. Why did you take your staples out and not a nurse? Referring to the fucking video where I took my staples out and not a nurse. Because if painful things have to be done to your body, like taking out staples or changing dressings or stuff like that, it is slightly less painful if you do it yourself instead of a doctor. So basically what happened in that particular situation was the doctor was doing a very bad job of taking the fucking staples out. So I was like, dude, just let me do it. I've done stuff like this before, because being in the hospital 2 months, you just start doing medical stuff because it's less painful if you do it yourself. And that is pretty much all of the questions. If I didn't answer your question, it's probably because it wasn't actually about being an amputee or anything related to it. Feel free to leave me more questions about being an amputee or related to it for the future. I'm probably going to do another Q&A when I'm actually up and walking, because then I'll have new information to share with you. Of course, I will document that process as I go along. If there's other stuff that you would like to see not related to being an amputee, you can comment it. I might not do it, but you can try. Alright, peace.